we always are going to have multiple stages to give people some different choices with music style that they want to listen to and what they want to dance to. We're always going to have intro dance classes for different types of Latin dance. So if you've never danced salsa before and you're like, I'd love to learn, we have, 2, 3 classes throughout the festival where you can actually like learn the basics and then
Which is
apply it
awesome for
professionally.
one ticket price. You're getting all of this stuff. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
crazy. You
Oh,
can
oh,
literally
and
learn how to dance at in the morning or in the afternoon rather, get some tacos, get a couple drinks, and then be dancing professionally by the evening.
that's the hope. That's the hope. And like as
Yeah,
you
yeah.
loosen up, a couple margaritas will loosen you up a little bit,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah, exactly. Welcome everyone to another new episode of the Johnny Rogers Show. I'm very excited for my guests today. This episode is sponsored by the Latin Sparks Festival, and there's going to be another ad partway through this podcast, but I do this because I really enjoy this festival. I've gone to it for the last 2 years, and so I'm so excited for my guest today, who is behind the madness of this. It's going to be Saturday, September 7th at LeBreton Flats. All of the links for the festival are going to be in the description below, but we're going to get into all of that shortly. Welcome, Kareem Aly.
thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Johnny. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So how did this all come together? Like, how long have you been doing the festival, and what sort of sparked, for lack of a better word, the Latin Sparks Festival for you?
My guess is that won't be the last time that pun is used in this interview. Um,
I'm a very
no,
punny guy. Yeah.
we actually started the festival in 2012, and at that time, it wasn't really even a festival. It was
Okay.
more of a meetup between friends.
Cool.
So there was a patio on Spark Street, which we had access to. We plug in our speaker, and we would just start dancing on the street. It was
I
about
love
20,
that.
30 of us. It was literally every Thursday in 2012,
Yeah.
about 20 or 30 of us. Nobody paid. We were charging cover, but nobody paid it since they all knew us. And there was something so informal and familiar about it. And it really just kind of felt like everybody was hanging out. But what was really unique about it was that as the summer progressed and week after week we kept doing this, more and more strangers and bystanders that were just walking by would be like, what is that music I hear? What's going on over there? What is this strange group of people dancing? And
Yeah.
then they would I remember so many scenes of people walking, kind of taking 10 seconds to evaluate the scene to basically decide for themselves whether they want to participate, and then putting their bags on the side, dropping their purses, and coming and dancing with us.
Mm.
And it was so interesting to me how welcoming that environment was, even without us trying, just kind of organically. And as by the end of the summer, what started with 20, 30 people was a couple hundred people coming every week.
Wow.
And it kind of snowballed from there. So it really, we didn't have any intention of, building out this big festival or some big roadmap. For us, we just wanted to create a space where we could dance for ourselves. And it seemed like other people were into it. And that's kind of what the catalyst was that got it going.
Yeah. So what does that feel like now that you like go to the LeBreton Flats and now there's like multiple stages and you've got like security and food trucks? Like that must be surreal for you guys that were there in 2012. That was like, this is a little like probably karaoke speaker that you just plugged into a 110 amp.
Oh, it was literally like an
Yeah.
iPod, not even an iPhone,
Yeah,
an
yeah, yeah.
iPod with
An
an auxiliary
iPod.
cable.
Oh God,
Um,
throwback.
but it is surreal, and I just find it like funny. Like sometimes I'll just sit there and like chuckle a little bit, like, oh my God, um how far it's come. And honestly, like a big credit to the initial attendees that really kind of gave it that spark, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And that
yeah.
made it attractive for other people to join in. Um, so yeah, absolutely surreal and also like proud. I think the team that's been
Mm.
working on it is really the same team since the very beginning. Obviously, we've added more people as it's grown, but even those people, like it's kind of the same 5, 6 people that have been working on this for the last decade. So it's pretty cool to see something that you believe in, something you put a lot of work into, grow into something
Hmm.
bigger than you.
Yeah. And like I've noticed the Latin community in Ottawa is like strong. Like they come out. I do a comedy
Uh,
show. I took the summer off because summer is bad for stand-up comedy. Most people just want to be outside. They don't want to be in a room
yeah,
watching
fair enough.
comedy. It's also why there's so many like competition shows that go on because it's like you got to bring people out.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
do it at a Margarita restaurant on Bank Street. and it just been amazing. Like there was a mariachi band that came in for like
Oh
the first
yeah.
little bit of it. Like they're just like so welcoming to me to be hosting shows and stuff there, and like you can feel this. It's only 50 people in a room, but like if you feel this little community in that glebe area
Yeah.
there. So um I definitely get why. Like, if I was walking down Spark Street and I saw a bunch of people dancing, and I'm in Ottawa, I'm like, what else am I gonna do? Of course, I'm gonna like go join this. Like, yeah,
But
yeah.
honestly, when you think about it, there isn't really much space where you can dance at night outside of a club. Like
Hmm.
outside of like a straight up nightclub environment, which has, like obviously, if you want to dance, stuff like that, there's some great pros to it, but there's also some caveats to that experience.
Sure.
And I think what we really prided ourselves on was like giving people an opportunity to just like go out and dance
Hmm.
that maybe wouldn't see themselves going to a club or maybe just want to be part of something bigger than that. But with you're talking about the Latin community, and it's true. But what's really funny is that like now the majority of our guests aren't even Latino. It's just people that want that energy, want to taste that
Yeah.
electricity, want to try something new, want to get out there in the summertime and be outside, like you were saying.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. And what was your one word for the episode?
So, funny enough, my one word was welcoming.
Okay.
Um,
Nice. All kind of
and I,
fits
and I
together there.
yeah, and I chose that word because I was actually thinking to myself about like what the what was it about Latin Sparks at the beginning when it first started that kind of gave it that momentum to keep growing, and what is it that we still like we have internally obviously like certain pillars that we want to always achieve at every event, and one of them is that piece of it being welcoming and accessible to anybody,
Hmm.
whether they're Latino or not, whether they know how to dance or not, because the idea of going to a Latin festival if I don't know Latin dancing can be a bit intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like we really try to design the experience in a way where like you don't have to know anything about this. You can be the type of person who has no business being in this room, but you're gonna have a great time at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. No, I love the word welcoming too, because you really feel that. Like I said, I've gone the last 2 years. There doesn't feel like an exclusivity to it. Like you don't feel out of place just because you're not Latin at this Latin festival, right? Like, because my
Yeah.
first instinct was I was like, why are they asking me if I want to go to this festival? You know what I mean? And then I was like, oh, okay, well, like let me go check it out. Let me go see like, what my Irish, English, Scottish background. I was like, I'm not going to be able to dance very well here, guys, but I'll do my best. And then yeah, I just had so much fun, and so I'm always down to work with you guys and come out to the festival every year. It's become a
Well,
since moving to Ottawa too. I've been looking for that community and that sort of like welcoming thing. It's nice.
where'd you move from?
I was in Toronto the last like 8, 9 years. So
Okay,
middle of the
okay.
pandemic, I was like, this place is kind of Gotham City right now. I need to get out of here.
Fair point, fair point.
Yeah.
And
And
what
then
actually maybe sorry, I don't mean to flip the script here and ask you questions, but like what was it about your first experience at the festival that like what was it like going there as like a non-Latino having no idea what you're getting into? What did you take from it?
it was just cool to just see people like outside, happy, like together. And it's like you feel like you're celebrating something, but you don't know what that is. Like it's just like celebrating like being together. Like it feels like a holiday almost at this point. I think Ottawa, we should reach out to Mayor Sutcliffe and name it Latin Sparks Day. September 7th. Just make it a
I love it.
holiday
I love
already.
it. I
You know what
love
I
it. I
mean? That
love
should be like the next step is we're celebrating it as a holiday. But like, yeah, it just felt good. I think like with like COVID, you started to, as you were getting into it, like 2021, you're like, are we ever going to go back to normal? Like, is there going to be like a
it.
time where we can be outside at least together or, at an event, and to just go to the first couple events like that, it just felt so good to be like around people again, like having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that idea like celebration is like a big part of the ethos. And like it's interesting you see that because like what are we celebrating? And in some ways it's like life,
Yeah,
it's like
just life.
culture,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just music,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just having a good
Tacos.
time. Yeah, exactly. Whatever reason we need. But there is like a
Hmm.
festive
Yeah.
environment and like a festive vibe for sure.
What's your go-to food when you go to the festival? What do you have to get every time you go?
So it used to be tacos, but actually there is a mean paella stand that we collaborate with every time, and the paella is like this big, and he just has this giant spoon that he's stirring, and like you can smell it
Wow.
from like 100 feet away. So this has become a new personal favorite for me.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to check that
And
out
like
for
it's got
sure.
everything in there, like shrimp, squid, obviously rice, and all these different vegetables and
Yeah.
spices and herbs. It's delicious.
Amazing. So how did like it start I want to talk about like the first that first leap to like, okay, we got something here. Let's like put together a proper festival. Like did you build how big of a team did you have for that? Like what sort of went into like building that out? Because it's obviously going to be a risk, right? Like even something like I said, as small as me doing like I'm going to run my own comedy show at a venue that's never had a stand-up comedy night before in an area that I don't know if the demographic is going to come out. Even selling 50 tickets, I'm like, can I do this?
Yeah.
So, like, are you thinking whatever happens, happens, will grow no matter how many people show up to the first one? Is it that sort of commitment for you?
Honestly, it sounds strange to say it out loud, but I don't think there was that much foresight in what we were doing. Like, I don't think we had, there was definitely a pivotal, there was a few milestones, I would say, when it's like, okay, now we're trying to do something different than what we're doing. But I don't know if we ever had this like very clear vision, except for maybe in the last 5 years of like what this festival is going to be. And it's like, what's the end game here? Where are we really trying to grow this? I think initially for us, it was just like, how can we bring more people out? I think that was kind of the starting point for us, is how to bring more people out. But after the first year, like you said, like there was a okay, we got something here. There's this community now of a couple hundred people coming once a week. They have a really good time. The name has started to catch a little bit here. So what we did the following year was we, with phones and with cameras, we took some footage and stuff like that, and we put together a pitch that we took to the city and said, "Hey, look what we were doing on Spark Street. This street has been dead for years. We're bringing it life. We want to expand this." And we were able to basically negotiate. So as opposed to being just on the patio, we actually closed off part of the street.
Oh,
So I
cool.
think that was the biggest stepping stone for us to take this a little bit like bigger than just an event now. Now it's becoming a
Hmm.
little bit, and then we started to run our own bars, bring in food vendors, like, and all of these things kind of came according to demand. So I was like, okay, when we were doing it on a patio, everything was taken care of it. We just had to bring music and teach some dance classes.
Sure,
And as it
yeah.
got bigger, it's like, okay, well now people are going to want to have some beverages. Okay, we're going to have to figure out how to do that. What's the permitting process there? Okay, now we have to hire bartenders. Da, 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 da. And then, okay, well, I guess people are going to get hungry because like the event's becoming bigger and bigger. People are dancing. Okay, well, let's try to get some people that can sell food. And then, oh wow, the last event was packed. And the first year, this was in 2013 now. So in our second year of our operations, and the first year of it being outside of just a regular restaurant patio, we're like, oh wow, now this space is too small for us. So we went to the city, said, hey, can we get some
Wow.
more? And then it grew and it grew and it grew. And eventually we were taking 3 blocks of Spark Street. And
That's
it was just
awesome.
this long sea of people. And it was crazy to see. And I think for us then is when we're like, okay, this is this is its own entity. It's not like we know everybody coming to the event anymore. People are just buying tickets online and so on. Um, and once we actually took the decision to leave Spark Street, which was obviously a sentimental and a bittersweet decision,
Yeah.
that's when I think we started to look at this a little bit more like, okay, now this is a festival. This needs to be kind of self-sustainable. It needs to be independent. We need to expand the team in order to keep doing this and fill in some of the gaps within the experience that we saw. Because I
Mhm.
think for both Carl and myself, who are the two founders, um, we are so sensitive to people's experience at the event. And I think more than anything, more than, like the number of people, the number of vendors, anything, what we want to know is that the people that came had a good time. The
Mm.
people that came there left like, screaming at the DJ and the MCs, one more, give me one more
Yeah,
song.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
when you know you've done your job, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they don't want to
Like,
leave.
I
You
don't
got to
want to
put your
go.
eyes. Exactly.
You're gonna have to start setting up little lean-to or like cabins for people to stay overnight and make it a 3-day festival.
That's been a conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think for us is always just thinking about this of like, okay, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to make people have a better time? Oh, the lineups for the bathrooms are too long. Okay, we need to adjust that. Or
Mm,
oh, people really like this type of food. We need to find more food vendors like this. Or oh wow, we really want to bring these types of artists out to the event. Let's see how we can cater to that. Um, and it's been like I think a series of small, continuous decisions that eventually led to this larger entity.
Hmm.
And I think the basis of those decisions were really based on like, how can we improve the experience? How can we make people feel more and more welcome here?
Yeah.
Because eventually there's only so many, theoretically Latin lovers or Latinos or Latin dancers or Latin music lovers in the city of Ottawa. If we want to keep growing and introducing this to more people, it has to become more and more welcoming, and the experience has to be more and more open.
Hey everyone, it's Johnny Rogers here. This episode is brought to you by the Latin Sparks Festival. If you're looking to add a little sizzle to your summer, I've got just the thing for you. The Latin Sparks Festival is bringing the summer heat to downtown Ottawa this year, and trust me, you do not want to miss this. On Saturday, September 7th, join thousands at LeBreton Flats as we immerse ourselves in the sizzle and spice of Latin culture. Expect to move, sweat, and have one epic experience. With live onstage music featuring salsa and bachata, you'll be dancing all night to the ultimate hot summer soundtrack. But that's not all. DJs will be spinning tunes on multiple stages so you know the party won't stop. Whether you're a seasoned dancer or just starting out, there will be dance performances and lessons to get everyone shaking their hips. And let's not forget the food. Authentic Latin food trucks will be serving up delicious treats like empanadas, tacos, churros, and more. Plus, outdoor bars will keep the drinks flowing because tequila is best served outside under the stars and string lights. New for 2024, we've got an epic Latin dance battle where contestants will compete for a $1,000 cash prize. The Latin Sparks Festival is an experience enjoyed by people of all ages and abilities, so bring your kids, friends, lovers, parents, and even grandparents. Everyone's welcome. And if you've got little ones, kids 12 and under can attend for free, no ticket required. Remember, Latin Sparks is on for one night only, so make sure you mark your calendar. You won't want to miss out. Join us at the Latin Sparks Festival at LeBreton Flats in Ottawa on Saturday, September 7th from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Learn more and grab your tickets at latinsparks.ca/Ottawa. And now, back to the episode. Yeah. No, I totally get that. And like, I suppose as well, like, if you just have, a couple food vendors that have an awesome time when they're there and they have great sales, that sort of like good time is just going to reverberate from that. They're going to tell other people, like, you got to contact this person and see if you can get in there. And now you have people coming to you probably being like, can we set up at your festival? Can we sell shirts? Can we do this? Can we do that? Just trying to be a part of this, like, good energy that's coming from it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was a really cool kind of turning point in a sense where, like, once the event started to not run itself, obviously there's a lot of work behind it, but when like the demand for the event, we didn't need to push for that demand. It started to come to us, and like people wanted to get involved, artists reaching out to perform, like you're saying, vendors reaching out to take part in it. That's when I think we also started to feel like, wow, what we've created now has really grown above what we initially thought.
Yeah. And what can people expect this year at the festival?
So we have our staples, which are like, we always are going to have multiple stages to give people some different choices of music style that they want to listen to and what they want to dance to. We're always going to have intro dance classes for different types of Latin dance. So if you've never danced salsa before and you're like, I'd love to learn, we have, 2, 3 classes throughout the festival where you can actually like learn the basics and then
Which is
apply it
awesome
for the
for
rest of the
one
night.
ticket price. You're getting all of this stuff. Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
crazy. You
Oh,
can literally learn
also,
how to dance in the morning or in the afternoon rather, get some tacos, get a couple drinks, and then be dancing professionally by the evening.
that's the hope. That's the hope. And like as you
Yeah.
loosen up, a couple margaritas will loosen you up a little bit. And
Yeah, exactly.
um we always have a ton of performances and DJs. I think for us, like there's an element of like the Latin American culture as a whole has so much color to it, has so much just like vibrancy that we try to showcase on stage as much as possible. So we're really fortunate to be able to work with a lot of incredible artists from around Canada and sometimes the States as well. So we have dance performances, we have musical performances, a live salsa band, different DJs, and 2 great MCs that kind of guide us through the whole journey of the night. And like you said, obviously a whole bunch of food trucks. This year we have 11 different food trucks there. So you have
Wow.
tons of options between like savory, sweet, and empanadas, tacos, paella, like we were talking about, so many different options. Um, and we're actually going to be introducing for the first time this year a dance battle.
A dance
So
battle. I love it.
absolutely. So Latin
Yeah.
Sparks has always kind of had a bit of that urban quality within the festival, just from it being outside on the street as its roots to
Yeah.
begin with.
It's very like
So what we're
punk DIY, like, yeah, I
Yeah,
love it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So we wanted to actually lean into that, and we were always thinking about like what can we do in terms of like different forms of entertainment So this year from 4 to 6 p.m., we're actually going to have like a fun dance battle. So we're going to have a judge, an MC, a specific dance battle DJ, and then there's going to be 32 dancers that are battling each other. So you're going to have like
Amazing.
preliminary rounds and then the finals. And we're going to crown our first ever Latin Sparks Festival Dance Battle champion.
The Latin Sparks Olympics.
Exactly.
Did you see the breakdancing this year? Did you watch any of
I
it?
definitely saw. I saw the finals for both the male and female. I also saw the meme going around about the Australian breakdance.
Oh
I've
my
seen all of it.
God. It's crazy that she is like probably going to become the most well-known breakdancer. Like I can name her, but I can't name who won gold, and they're Canadian. You know
I
what I
know.
mean? Like
I
that's
know.
that's so crazy to me. But yeah,
I
it's
was
funny
watching
seeing
Jimmy
everyone's
Fallon
different.
yesterday, and they're doing
Yeah.
bits about it too. I'm like, oh, this is never gonna stop.
It's never, yeah, yeah. I think who they have, they had some SNL, ex SNL alumni playing her on
Yeah,
Jimmy Fallon. Yeah, and she
yeah,
nailed
I
it
saw
like
them.
so
Yeah, it's great.
perfectly. Well, Kareem, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this question because it's a question that I ask all my guests, and usually the focus is I'll have to have you come back on even because usually the focus is about you, like not even just your festival. I feel like we're talking about your festival the whole
No, it's
time.
hard.
We don't even
Talk to me.
know
Talk to me.
who Kareem is, but this is a good question to sort of open that up a little bit. I want you to think of yourself at 15 years old, and the phone rings, and it's you now on the other end. You can give your younger self a piece of advice based on what you know now. What do you say?
15 is an interesting age. I actually was going through a very tough time at this age, and I definitely felt quite alone, I would say, and quite isolated from the rest of the world and society and my own family, even. So I think for me, if I had some advice maybe to give my younger self at that age, um, I, I think the idea of really just patience and enduring it a little bit and just like taking it kind of step by step. And I think my own life, even past 15 years old, has just been there's these big waves and like everyone's lives are like this, right? And I think the older I get, the more I start to see this idea of like the impermanence of these states that we're in, of these mental states, whether it's a funk, whether it's a high, whether it's feeling low about yourself, whether it's feeling great about yourself, all of them are just so impermanent. So just kind of in maybe I tell them a little bit, just hold on and as much as you can, maybe don't don't succumb to this idea that this is what life is. Like this is what it's like every day. This is what it's like now,
Hmm.
and tomorrow's gonna be a little bit different. And the next day might be down again, and then a little bit different, and then so on. So, I think there'd be an element of just like giving him a pat on the back and just saying, hold on there a little bit and ride things out.
Yeah. Pretty soon you're going to be running a badass festival in Ottawa.
I don't think he would have thought that was possible at that
Yeah,
age. I can tell you
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's amazing what we don't even think that we can achieve, or we have no idea like what the next year is going to look like even. It's
Amen.
life is kind of remarkable in that way.
It's,
I had interviewed Barry Katz, who was like a
yeah,
big comedy manager, and he was talking about some advice that like Tom Hanks gave him, and it's very much like what you're saying there about the impermanence of like these moments, and even if you feel like down or sad, it's like it's gonna pass. Tom Hanks said that when he won the his like first Academy Award, he came home and he was celebrating with his wife Rita, and he was like, "I'll be right back," and he went into the bathroom and he set the Academy Award on like the toilet probably or whatever, and he looked at himself in the mirror and he said, "This too shall pass." And so anytime he
yeah,
had like a bad day or like a great day, he would do the same thing, look at himself in the mirror and say, "This too shall pass." And it's so that he can recapture that feeling of like, like don't stay too much on the highs, but don't stay too much on the lows either. Like it's all
mhm.
just a moment that's leading into the next moment, it's leading into the next one. There's no point in sitting around and beating yourself up or congratulating yourself too much either.
Yeah. And there's an element of like detaching yourself from what you're experiencing, which is actually like almost like I don't know, counterintuitive or I guess counternatural, let's say. Like your initial instinct when you're feeling something is to really feel it. At least for me, that's the type of character I am, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
when I feel and there's it's a bit like almost removing yourself from that. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the high when it's there, or you don't feel the low when it's there, but there's just again that level of detachment.
Hmm.
Because without going too philosophical here, like what are we what is it when I talk about myself, what am I actually talking about? Is it that
Yeah.
emotion I'm going through? Is it what I'm feeling in that moment, or is it something outside of that? or
Yeah, yeah.
does it even exist? Like, what is the boundary around that? And I think for me, I'm going like at the age of 15, like I think I'd just been expelled from high school, and then
Oh,
it's like to go from that, and then I guess it would have been roughly 10 years later to like having started Latin Sparks. Like that would have been such a
wow.
night and day scenario.
Yeah. What got you expelled from high school?
I was a troublesome youth. I was a troublesome youth,
Okay.
and I think I was seeking. I was seeking, like,
Uh,
and I think I just channeled that energy in a direction that wasn't like positive for me,
yeah.
and was destructive towards my own lifestyle and the people around me. And it took a lot of time and a lot of support from those around me to actually like get me out of it. But it was almost like once I did, there was like this springboard that I just like approached life with and just kind of like jumped head first in like just a positive, like almost taking that same energy, but just channeling it now towards something positive, like whether it was work, whether it was school, whether it was
Hmm.
extracurricular, exercise, friends, and like all of that kind of pent up energy that was kind of getting me in trouble before was now like actually like
Yeah.
opening up opportunities for me. And I think that was pretty cool to realize that the same thing that maybe I would have been upset about myself with, and I would have said like this is a bad trait of mine, was actually the same trait that was helping me open all these doors. And
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
think that
yeah.
again, going back to like what I would say to myself there, it isn't the change. It isn't to get smarter. It isn't to do anything different. And that change and that evolution happens naturally, but it's more so around how um just kind of riding it out because again, it naturally will work itself out in that sense.
Yeah. And channeling that positive energy, I think you can just see like the evidence is so clear in front of you what that can build and like the impact that that can have. And it's that same energy, just it's just misguided, and you don't realize that until you do see a positive impact from yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you
Uh,
start to again, like you're able to like integrate, I guess, the different parts of yourself. So as opposed to like hating on this part of yourself, being like, oh, this is getting me in so much trouble. This I want to change this. I hate this about myself. It's like, no, this is still part of who I am, and then maybe there's a way to work with this.
yeah. I'm gonna share the website for people watching on YouTube, or if you're listening, thank you. Go to latinsparks.ca/Ottawa. That's where you can buy tickets for the event. As I said, September 7th at LeBreton Flats here in Ottawa. Go to at Latin Sparks Festival on Instagram to follow for updates. You can see tons of content on here about the festival if you want to learn more, and also at Latin Sparks Festival as well on Facebook. Go follow all of those things. Is there anywhere else that you want to push people to go check
No,
out?
I think the website does a good job. Check out the Instagram, and then hopefully check out the festival. I think the
Yeah,
best way to feel the magic is in the place itself.
yeah. Just
And like
do
we
it,
have,
Ottawa.
it's
Just
one night of the
go.
year,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
I always tell myself like there's a couple days in the year when Ottawa really comes alive.
Yeah.
First is Canada Day, and then second is Latin Sparks Day.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, hell yeah. Well, man, thanks so much for coming on the show. Like I really, like I said earlier, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and you're welcome back anytime if you want to just come on and hang out and chat more for sure.
Thanks so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
All right, great, man. We'll talk soon. I'll see you at Latin Sparks Festival.
I'll see you on the 7th.
All right, later,
Cheers.
man. Take care. You've been listening to The Johnny Rogers Show. New episodes air every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.